Good afternoon, everyone. It's a pleasure to have everyone here. Thank you for joining us for this a great event, another great function in a series of lectures that are organized by the Advisory Council, Dean's Advisory Council of the College of Engineering here on the campus of Cal State University. We are grateful to the Advisory Council and the subcommittee that organizes this lecture series. They have done a marvelous job, and we are truly thankful for everything they have done. The committee is currently chaired by Kent Peterson, sitting to my right, Mike Nigley on front row, Susan Fort O'Neill next to him, and Nick Ceramic. I don't think Nick is here today. Thank you for all your wonderful work in putting together these lectures, which are so beneficial to the campus community and our friends and the community at large. We're grateful to the sponsors. There are a number of companies and entities that have supported these lecture series over and over again, and we appreciate the continued support. Applied Medical has been there for us all the way through, P2S Engineering, the Port of Long Beach, San Diego Gas and Electric, Pacific Edison International, Herzog Contracting Corporation, Northrop Grumman, Fort Design, and Technolink Association. Thank you for your continued support. We appreciate that. We have a number of distinguished guests here. Vice President Andrea Taylor from Cal State Long Beach is here. And we also have Associate Vice President Janet Foster, in charge of information technology on our campus, and Associate Vice President Michael Las Cuadros of Development is here. I hope I haven't missed other distinguished guests, and of course, every one of you are distinguished, but these are my colleagues, and I'm grateful for joining us today. And I'm pleased to recognize the University President, Dr. F. King Alexander, who will welcome you formally on behalf of the university. Dr. Alexander.
Thank you, Dean Ghoshani, and thank you all for coming. I'd like to recognize, I know we got a bunch of students sitting in the back there, so I'd like to thank our students for attending. Cybersecurity, they may know more about it than most of us, as we know the technology world and technological world moves forward. Just a couple things. We take great pride in the number of engineers we've produced that have gone on to do amazing things. Our College of Engineering now graduates nearly 900 engineers a year that have gone on to not only significantly improve the economies of Orange County and LA County, but to do things all over the world, from Saudi Arabia to South Africa. And we're very, very proud of our faculty, very, very proud of our staff. This is one significant reason why our mid-career earnings rank among the highest in the country. Higher than half of the Big Ten is because of our success in engineering, our success with the multiple disciplinary fields that we've had in our engineering professions. I'd like to thank our advisory board. This has turned into a great series, hitting on very, very, very relevant topics that we're all wanting to learn more and more about each and every year. But I'd also like to thank our guests for coming and sharing this day with us. There's a lot going on campus this time of year. We're on a dead run until the last graduation, which is the College of Engineering, on May 27th. So enjoy this month. Students, if you're headed for graduation, make sure you stick this last month out. Stick those finals, nail them. Don't forget about your final exams, because we'd like to have another wonderful class of engineers that hit the economy of Southern California this year. And we're hoping right around 900 again. So thank you all for attending, and go Beach.
Thank you, President Alexander, and let's start the program. And it's my pleasure to introduce the moderator for this panel, Mr. Kent Peterson, one of our own, graduate of College of Engineering, and you're very proud of all your accomplishment. Featured as one of the CSU distinguished alum, not just this campus, but the whole system. The two brothers, Kent and Kevin, were recognized very, very recently. So thank you, Kent, for helping us put this together. Kent is the chief engineer and the owner of P2S Engineering, a local consulting engineering firm. He founded 20 years ago, together with his brother, Kevin, both of them our distinguished graduates. He is the recent past president of the American Society of Heating, Refrigerator, and Air Conditioning Engineers, ASHRAE, and he is the current president of ASHRAE Associates Society Alliance that includes 54 professional societies around the world. Locally, he's the president of the Long Beach Green Business Council, working with the Long Beach Chamber of Commerce. He has authored a number of articles and papers, and he has made presentations to government and professionals throughout the world. As I mentioned, he holds a degree in mechanical engineering from Cal State Long Beach, and he serves on the Dean's Advisory Council. Kent?
Good afternoon. Well, it's always a pleasure that we can put on this distinguished lecture series. And when we actually got together to talk about what the topic was going to be for this lecture series, cybersecurity came up as one area where we really felt we needed to educate people. We need to educate not only the consumer, we need to educate the businesses, and we all need to understand also what's happening at a national level and what the threats are that are out there today. Today we've actually pulled together 3 very, very good technical resource experts on the subject. And we're going to have a lecture where each one of them are going to be able to present on their various topics. And then afterwards we'll open up the session for question and answer, where we can ask all kinds of questions and have open discussion with them. Now, it's interesting, in the last couple days, just in the last 2 days, in pulling through some of the headlines that are out there relative to cybersecurity, Sony lashed over PlayStation security breach. 77 million people actually had their personal information, including credit card and other personal data, stolen in an Australian breach of the Sony PlayStation network that stores all of this. Texas actually had a security breach which exposed 3.5 million records. And actually it was the government in Texas that accidentally put it in the public domain, which is interesting. I have another one here, which was 10.8 million people were affected by major breaches in healthcare information. The information that you and I provide to our healthcare providers, whether it be the insurance companies or we go to the doctor, we have to fill out this information. They're usually asking for all kinds of information, social security numbers, driver's license, this stuff. We actually, in this case, it happened to be HealthNet, and they have an outside provider, IBM, providing their servers, and someone walked off with a hard disk with all the information, and they can't find them. The interesting thing is I did further research on this subject. While this happened in January of this year, it actually happened previously. The exact same thing happened to HealthNet in May of 2009. So you would think that we would learn from some of these cases and be able to put security in play, but in fact, 1.5 million people were affected previously. Now it was another 1.9 million people affected in the latest breach. So it's really timely in the fact that we really need to learn about some of the things that are out there. In fact, I was one of those HealthNet people and received a letter from HealthNet notifying me that my information was lost. And we do have rights, and I think today we can at least ask about what some of those rights are when that happens to us. Today we're going to start out first with a distinguished speaker, Roberta Gottfried. She's the Director of Engineering and Learning and University Relations in Engineering, Space, and Airborne Systems for Raytheon Company. Ms. Gottfried is the former Director of Technology Strategy and Integration and an engineering fellow specializing in information and cybersecurity. She was a principal investigator on the Parallel Real-Time Operating System for Secure Environments and Information Assurance Reliability Model Programs for DARPA, and secure avionics programs for the Air Force. She was also the technical lead defining the avionics security architecture for Joint Advanced Strike Technology for the future Joint Strike Fighter program. Ms. Gottfried has chaired several panels and authored several papers and presentations at national conferences on issues and solutions in trends in security in the evolving network-centric battle space, working with the U.S. Department of Defense, NATO, and the UK Ministry of Defense. She was the founder of the Raytheon Technical Interest Group on Information Assurance. Please welcome Ms. Roberta Gottfried.
Thank you, and good evening, and thank you for the introduction. So I was asked to speak on cybersecurity and you from the national perspective, and I'll tell you it wasn't easy to narrow that down to a 15-minute talk. So hopefully I'll scratch the itch and you'll ask some questions later if I didn't address what you were hoping I would. I'm happy to be here to talk about a field that I've been working in for 20 years, when all it took at that time was a little imagination to see how the world of cyber could be exploited and the importance that cybersecurity would take in the future. Of course, at that time, it was called computer security and not cybersecurity. The internet was just emerging, and few people could imagine how rapidly cyberspace would become as pervasive as it has. I don't want to dwell on history. That probably is a separate talk or a separate series and not nearly as interesting as some of the exciting things that are on the headlines today. It's worth noting, though, that at the start there was a common belief that all you had to do to make a computer secure was not to connect it to anything. Now we know that that, in fact, is not true. An unconnected computer actually can still be broken into. In addition, a computer that's not connected to anything is actually not much good for much these days. But that was actually at the beginning what people were trying to do to make computers secure. The first instances of hacking were probably recorded about 25 years ago, although they probably weren't called hacking, and they weren't all that well known and certainly not well publicized. Actually, around that time, I actually had an employee working for me who thought it was really cute that he hacked into everybody's computers in the office. And mostly it was just mischief that people were up to. You know, let me see if I can do that. Let me see if I can make it so you can only run a certain program on your computer. We'll see how clever I am. But now, it's those mischievous hackers who are out there, but it's also organized criminal syndicates, nation states, global terrorist organizations have all found ways to utilize cyberspace in both constructive and destructive ways. So protecting and defending cyberspace are keys to protecting our nation and our way of life. Globalization and the internet have muddled our borders and our natural perimeters. Most of the goods we use are produced in whole or in part in other nations. The cybersphere is essential to ensuring our part and leadership in the global world. Back in 2003, the National Strategy to Secure Cyberspace was published by President Bush. It might have been the first openly published document to admit the impending or current threat from cyber attacks and to acknowledge the importance of addressing them. In fact, it's rather impressive that really just a short time after 9/11, the focus, they actually published something on cybersecurity and not just on terrorism. This culminated in the Bush administration publishing the Comprehensive National Cybersecurity Initiative in January 2008. And under President Bush, responsibility was given primarily to the Department of Homeland Security. President Obama has taken the protection of cyberspace many steps further, although he does reference and build upon both of those documents. He publishes a cyberspace policy review and has designated an executive branch cybersecurity coordinator, Howard Schmidt. It's actually very interesting to get online and look at the White House blog. There are many items in there of interest that talk about cybersecurity incidents and initiatives and opinions. So if not exemplary, then greatly improved coordination and cooperation across agencies to address cybersecurity incidents is now in place. And in fact, it is that openness, cooperation, and coordination that are seen as key to our being successful at protecting our nation against against the cyber threat. The national strategy to secure cyberspace, as I mentioned, you can actually find that on the web, and I can help you, but you can just do a Google search to find it. It actually specifies a lot what our personal responsibility is to securing the portions of cyberspace that we all own, operate, control, and with which we interact. So it's interesting. It specifies what the federal government's role is, but it also emphasizes that each of us has an important role to play in protecting it for the nation. It requires a coordinated and focused effort from the entire society to prevent cyber attacks, to reduce our national vulnerability, and to minimize damage and recovery time from attacks that do occur. I mentioned that at the end of his administration, President Bush published the Comprehensive National Cybersecurity Initiatives. There were 12 key initiatives, which can be summarized as follows, and you can read them later. I guess it will be posted on the website. One is to protect the federal enterprise, that is network protection, intrusion detection, and prevention in classified networks. It redirects research and development resources to define and develop leap-ahead technology, strategies, and programs to address the cyber threat. To increase education in the area of cybersecurity. In general, to raise situational awareness and public awareness. Very important today, you'll see a lot of information on addressing the global supply chain risk. And finally, it defines the federal role for extending cybersecurity into critical infrastructure domains. The Department of Defense, whoops. I'm trying to move the slide. Somebody hacked into it. Okay, who was, okay. Okay. The Department of Defense most recent Quadrennial Defense Review report for the first time talks about cyberspace as an important aspect of their role as well. It provides insight into the role of cybersecurity in the Department of Defense domain. The traditional role of the Department of Defense to provide effective high-tempo operations require resilient, reliable information and communication networks and assured access to cyberspace. So it extends the traditional role from air and from the traditional domains into active defense of networks. It's working now. It also talks about enhancing awareness and education, centralizing the command of cyber operations, and enhancing partnerships with other agencies and governments. So the cybersphere is now included in operational domains along with air, land, maritime, and space. It requires air and naval forces to be integrated across all operational domains, including cyber. And as an example of the increased cooperation across departments and agencies, it specifically specifies strengthening cooperation with the Department of Homeland Security. Okay. I think Ken talked a little bit about some of the recent headlines. I'm going to talk about some others that are specifically important to the national perspective. I think my colleagues who are going to be speaking after me are going to be talking about more specific examples of vulnerabilities in current systems and specific tools that can be used to protect our computers and our networks and other electronic devices. All of those are essential, and they're not different to protecting our national assets, so I'm going to let them address that. But these headlines specifically involve threats that affect our national security. First of all, I mentioned the 25 years ago, the first hacking incident occurred. I just thought I'd give you a quick example of what that was. Again, it was just simple mischief. There was some code put in some software so that when the license expired, it would stop working. So some hackers figured out how to take that code out of the software that it was intended for, and they just inserted it into some other software. That made its way around the world. And it affected a lot of computers, probably many more than they anticipated around globally. Unfortunately, fortunately or unfortunately, there were phone numbers in there for who to call in case that time bomb went off accidentally, and the people had no idea that they'd be getting so many phone calls. So that was the first attack about, or at least first documented attack about 25 years ago, this past January. Stuxnet is a recent attack that happened within the last, was it October or so? That was an attack on the Iranian nuclear facilities. It was the first real precision cyber weapon that was designed to achieve a particular effect. So there have been lots of headlines and rumors and stories about the use of cyber in an offensive way. But that was the first one that was, that was well known and that had a very specific effect in mind, not just causing mischief and not just determining whether or not you could cause havoc or disruption to operations. There was also, there have been a series of cyber attacks in South Korea, which seemed to be mainly to cause disruption and create confusion, to divert resources and attention, and perhaps for bragging rights for those who've done that. There's also password theft networks, which had financial implications, of course. And of course, that happens. There are headlines about those all over the place. It illustrates the commercial, criminal aspects of cyber, but it also has the effect of reducing confidence in our banking and financial systems and our critical infrastructures. So could you forward it, please? So there are a number of evolving threats that are of particular interest at the national level. As I said, I know the other speakers will be talking about specific system vulnerabilities and will be illustrating how easy it is for someone who's motivated to attempt and to succeed in delivering a cyber attack. Tools are available to hackers on the web. They're easy to find, they're relatively easy to use, and that perhaps it requires a bit more sophistication for them to be truly successful, but it doesn't take many resources. So we often refer to the cyber threat as asymmetric online warfare, because it takes very little sophistication and resources for one or a small number of individuals to create a tremendous amount of damage if they're successful. In fact, sometimes it can get out of hand and they don't even realize it, as with the first hacking attack. So on a national level, we're concerned with criminals. We're concerned with asymmetric online warfare, where individuals, where terrorists, political groups who don't have the resources that nation states have will use those activities in order to disrupt our activities and to attack our potentially our critical infrastructures. There's a lot of concern about threats to our supply chains, and so many of our resources are produced and shipped from overseas. So either the shipping networks themselves could be at risk, or the products themselves that are shipped might turn out to be bogus or not work as intended, or may have unintended consequences that are not documented. We call that the critical infrastructure issue. And finally, there's an advanced persistent threat, where we worry about computers having malware installed in them, that they're not detected, that if you're not careful and you don't protect your own computer, certain botnets and other malware can be inserted on computers and then brought into action at a future time. So that's a persistent threat. It's sitting out there, and there's concern that that these bots could cooperate with one another to produce unintended, unexpected, and undesirable consequences across the cyberspace. So at a national level, we're also concerned with how do we know that a computer system, that a network is actually protected as it should be. Depending on the system of interest, there are different organizations that the nation has stood up to fill the role of the designated accrediting authority. Their main concern is to answer the question, does the system meet a specific set of security requirements from a computer and network point of view? We already know that it's impossible to protect a computer system completely. There will always be risk that someone can get in. There are always vulnerabilities that are being exposed and that are known about. So the question is there an acceptable level of risk? Depending on the criticality of the system, the sensitivity of the data, and the impact on operations and our way of life, if the risk is realized, is that acceptable? And these organizations, such as the Defense Information Assurance Certification and Accreditation Process, are responsible for certifying defense networks and systems. NIST, the National Institute of Standards, is also responsible for the civil and commercial realm. Okay, I need help again with the charts, please. Okay. So we've come a long way since I started working in this. We used to think not only that a computer could be standalone and be secure, we also used to think that we had to choose between performance and security. And though that's still true to some extent, you do give up a little bit for performance if you're going to have a secure system. I'm happy to say that, in fact, most systems that are fairly secure or even reasonably secure are quite usable. If you are worried about that yourself, then, get over it. It's much more important to protect your own systems. One of the tactics that we do take, thank you. Hope it works better for the others. One of the tactics that we do take is what we call defense in depth. It's a multidimensional approach to achieving security. It means it's not just having virus protection on your system. It means having good passwords and virus protection. It means if you're in a business that you know who can have access and get onto your system. It means that you don't leave your laptop in Starbucks and then come back for it an hour later. So it's a set of procedures and there's a you did that, okay. It means a set of tools, techniques, procedures, processes, methods, and all of that to do what they used to do with castles in the very old days. You've got to get through a lot of different layers of protection in order to get inside, to get to the jewels, or to the then royal family, whatever. Okay. So again, in a national security context, we rely on cybersecurity at all levels. It's important to detect when someone is trying to break into your system. It's important to prevent someone from being able to do that. It's important to deter them, make it so hard, make it obvious that it's hard that they'll go to the other guys, they'll go to the card that's not locked instead of the one that is. And then to make corrections, to have ways to recover from incidents in case there is an incident, and don't worry, there will be. One more, please. Thank you. So, what can you do to help us protect all of our important national assets from cyber threats? The first thing is, and I've been trying to emphasize this, protect your own personal computing assets. If they can get to your computer, if they can get to your banking account, if they can get to your passwords, they can probably use that to get to somewhere else that's trusted by your computer. Do protect your passwords. I had this thought as I was, instead of just teaching children how to manage money and giving them allowances, well, we start giving them lessons in how to remember their passwords and not share them with anybody, right, from 5 years old or something. Use online commerce with companies that are committed to secure operations. Don't try to do it the fast and easy way. Really, try to give your business to companies that protect consumers and yourself and personal information. Support and encourage companies you do business with to use the latest security methods and techniques. Don't give them a hard time if they call you to say someone tried to break into your system so we changed your password. That's a good thing if they do that. Be alert to suspicious activities. If you do think you've been hacked, call your local police department or the FBI and protect the evidence, because the evidence will really help them track down the people who've committed the crime. And finally, consider a career in the field of cybersecurity. It's really a growing field. There is a shortage of people. If you're interested in IT and in, for engineers, there's hardware and there's software, systems engineering. All of it has to consider security nowadays. So consider a career there. There will be lots of opportunities in the future. And that's it. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you, Roberta. At least what I took away from that is that each of us have a personal responsibility to protect our information in the cyber warfare out there. The government is not there to protect us. They're there to help provide some of the infrastructure and other things, but it really is up to each of us to protect it. Our next speaker is Ronald Williams, and Ronald is the Chief Executive Officer of Talon Companies. Ron retired from the U.S. Secret Service after a 23-year career where he worked intelligence cases concerning threats against the President of the United States, undercover and surveillance on counterfeit money cases, and was assigned to the President's Protective Detail under President Gerald Ford. He was the agent in charge of the elite counter-assault team, an anti-terrorist attack unit in Los Angeles before he was promoted to the assistant to the special agent in charge of the Los Angeles field office. In the last 10 years of his career, he served as an agent in charge of the counterfeit squad, the credit card and financial fraud squad, and as the agent in charge of the protection squad, overseeing all protective and emergency response planning for presidential and vice presidential, as well as foreign heads of states visiting Southern California. Ron's career spanned 6 presidents, from Nixon to Clinton, and he protected such noted dignitaries as Queen Elizabeth, Pope John Paul, Fidel Castro of Cuba, Ferdinand Marcos of the Philippines, and Yitzhak Shamir of Israel. Please welcome Ronald Williams.
Good afternoon. Whew, that's really weak. Come on. Good afternoon. I'd like to know you're at least awake when I start, okay? I'll do another one at the end and see if you're awake. Kent mentioned that I served, 23 years with the Secret Service. Back when I had hair, no wrinkles, and I was a whole lot thinner. It was a great career. A lot of people don't know that besides protecting the president and foreign heads of state and vice presidential candidates and people who run for office, that we have an investigative arm doing counterfeit money, credit card fraud, identity theft, all of those various financial fraud issues. And today, we're members of the Electronic Crimes Task Force in Los Angeles, sponsored by the Secret Service, who has various different agencies that are involved including the FBI, Customs, Los Angeles Sheriff's Department, LAPD, CHP, all are involved in what they call the Electronic Crimes Task Force, as well as various other private groups that belong to the Electronic Crimes Task Force, designed to track new crimes, electronic crimes, etc. Just in passing, I just want to mention that probably the pinnacle of my career came in 1979 when I spent 10 days protecting Pope John Paul. And just an anecdote to tell you a little bit about that assignment. I'm not Catholic, but truly he was a remarkable person to be around. You know, I actually spent 10 days watching a man that I thought really possessed agape love, which, you know, some of us don't. I'm one of them. But to see that in action is really quite dynamic. One quick story. We were at the cathedral in Philadelphia, getting ready to walk in. And of course, you have the bishops, the cardinals, you have the agents. There's like a host of people around him. And he was standing here beside me, and the organ was playing. We were supposed to walk in, and he wasn't moving. And he's standing there. And of course, he's got the robes and the hat and the staff. And I sort of looked at him out of the corner of my eye, and he looked at me, and he said, "Where's the men's room?" And I said, "Oh, right this way, Your Holiness." So off we go. And of course, the agent goes in, makes sure nobody's in there, and we've got a host of about 20 people standing outside. He takes the hat off, gives the staff to one of his bishops. He goes in, we wait, and he comes out. And he takes the staff, and he puts on the hat, takes the staff, and he turns. And everybody is looking at him, you know. And he goes, "What? Because I wear a dress, I can't go to the men's room?" And killed us. I thought you might appreciate that because he had a great sense of humor also. I'm going to talk to you about cybersecurity from a business perspective today. A lot of people don't realize, but 85% of our critical infrastructure is actually the private industry sector. Did you know that? For instance, your airlines, your transportation, most of your transportation of products going over the ocean, most of your critical infrastructure that we design as critical infrastructure is actually private industry. So with that, I want to talk to you a little bit about what we're seeing, which this is not, yeah, I tell you what, I'll just look at you and, all right. From a perspective of just looking at where we're going with cyber threats and cyber crime, if you'll take a look at the Internet Crime Complaint Center, IC3, you'll see that in 2009, there were 336,655 complaints. Take a look at 2008. That's just a comparison to show you that each year we're seeing at least a 22 to 25% increase in cyber intrusions in 1 year. That's just a random sample. Some of the cyber crimes that we see out there, and back when I ran the financial fraud unit, I had the identity theft unit also, and I was in charge of the Nigerian task force because the Nigerians perfected the idea of identity theft. They were the forerunners, and everybody else has sort of patterned their art skills after the Nigerians. They later changed that to West African task force, but when I ran it, it was the Nigerian task force. They were the masters of identity theft. Today, identity theft is one of the major issues that we see, and you know, I was interested in looking at the PlayStation, Sony PlayStation that appeared in the USA Today. but that was just one. If you go back, you can go back and look at TJ Maxx, where the guys started down in San Diego, war driving, looking for open networks and attaching malware to the open networks. They stole enough credit card-based information worldwide to do about a $20 million hit on various companies and corporations by duplicating credit card-based information. That case started as a Secret Service case by a case agent in San Diego. It expanded into a worldwide investigation. The agent traveled to about 60 different countries, did about 400 different buys, and when the case went down, they arrested over 40 people in 10 different countries. So that gives you the magnitude of transnational fraud. When we're talking in terms of cyber threat, we're not talking about something that's just national or local. We're talking about transnational fraud today involving people in other countries. And a little bit later, I'll talk about Zeus. That was a malware that did a bank fraud. Here's some of the different types of fraud, internet fraud. Phishing. Does everybody know what phishing is? It's relatively, huh? No. No. Okay. Phishing is an attack on the system where you may see a posted come onto your screen saying, we're Wells Fargo Bank, and we're making inquiry. You need to give us your information so we can legitimately see whether or not your account is active, blah, 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 blah. There's all kinds of different phishing scams. When you respond to that and give out personal data, you're giving it to people that are phishing. They're phishing for your information. That's called a phishing attack. Farming is a little bit different because it identifies specific institutions. For instance, University of Washington was targeted, wherein the students went online and they saw that it came out as an administration, the administration of the University of Washington was requesting their identification for grades and all kinds of stuff, and that they wanted to validate them as students. And so they had to give out the information. Well, some people are going to go, I'm not giving out that kind of information. You'd be surprised how many did. And you'd be surprised at how many people got hit. Farming is sort of an attack against an identified institution or a direct business. Telemarketing fraud, identity theft is the big hitter. And you'll notice identity theft SB 1386. That was a law that it was instituted in 2003 here in California. California started the breach law. Does anybody know what the breach law is? I need to tell you what the breach law is then, because it's very important. If you run a business, I don't care whether it's big or small, you must know what SB 1386 is. I gave a presentation last year down in Miami to a group of CPAs who ought to know what the breach law is, and only 3 out of 60 knew, and I was stunned. All right, so let me get into it, because you really need to know what this law is. In 203, well, prior to that, let's go back. AB 700 was an attempt by attorneys. You'll have to pardon me if you're an attorney. My daughter's an attorney, so I mean no slight, but these attorneys drafted law called AB 700, and AB 700 was the breach law that said if you're an institution, a banking institution, whatever company you are, if identification, personal identification is stolen from your information system, you have a fiduciary responsibility to provide and announce to your customers that they've had their information compromised. Well, the banking institution and various financial institutions got together. The law was poorly written, and it was poorly written. Why? Because attorneys wanted class action lawsuits. Okay? So they defeated it. Okay, so in November 2003, it came up again as SB 1386. And again, the financial institution, the banking institutions, the credit union all band together and said, we've got to defeat this bill. Well, what happened is 1 week prior to the bill, SB 1386, going before the California legislature, what happened? 50,000 personal identities were compromised at the Department of Motor Vehicles in Sacramento by your inside employees. About 3 or 4 days later, the Ford Motor Credit got hit by a gentleman who had been forced to resign from his position in Boston with a financial institution, but he left a backdoor administrative code to enter. And what he was doing is he was going to Ford Motor Credit to get credit reports from Experian and Equifax and TransUnion, and he was selling those. It resulted in about $20 million worth of fraud. All of that hit 1 week prior. That bill slid through the California legislature like it was had Vaseline on it. And now you have 49 states that have what they call the breach law. All right, so here's what you need to pay attention to. If you're a small business or a big business, if you're Raytheon, if you're Talon, and you have personal data residing on your information system, and that information is not encrypted, i.e. name, date of birth, social security number, driver's license, what kind of information like that would reside on any of your systems? Answer. Give me an answer. Huh? Your employee payroll. Right? I mean, that's one. So you might have, if you have an operation where you take credit cards, you're going to have that kind of information. So you're going to have personal data. Doctor's offices. They have their patients with their names, social security numbers, date of birth, all of that resides on their system. Now think about this. If somebody hacks in and steals that information, and it's not encrypted, and you're a business and you find that out, you have a fiduciary responsibility to send out an announcement to every customer that's in your system in the state of California. Now, 49 states now have that, what they call the breach law. What does that do to your stock if you're a big corporation? Guess what? Wells Fargo was the first one hit. Does anybody bank at Wells Fargo? This is years ago, by the way. This has been years ago, probably 2004 when the first hit came. What happened is a guy had a laptop. He was a consultant. He had a laptop, and he had all of this personal data and information from Wells Fargo Bank on his laptop. His laptop got stolen, and he had to tell Wells Fargo, my laptop got stolen, and guess what? Had all the personal data on there. Sorry. Wells Fargo had the fiduciary responsibility of announcing they had to send out a letter to every customer in the state of California. What do you think that did to Wells Fargo stock? People ran to the bank to take their money out. That was one. Since then, there's been multiple hits. Choice Point is one. I mean, I could go down and name numerous companies and corporations that have been hit with SB 1386. Why am I telling you this? It's because identity theft is the #1 attack on the systems, because with your personal identification, trust me, I can make money if I know everything about you. If I know your date of birth, social security number, name, I've got you. I can literally do anything I want to your credit, second mortgage on your house. I basically own you with your information. And that's a frightening thought. And so why am I telling you this? Because it's incumbent on every company to either encrypt the data on the personal information or cell group it so that you have an audit of anybody trying to get in. All right, I spent a lot of time on that, but I needed to spend a lot of time because you really need to know this law. healthcare fraud. Credit card fraud is still huge, and bank fraud. Recently, how many of you know about Zeus? Zeus. It's a malware that got various transnational hackers used to send out emails. When you open the email, the malware attached to your system, and it keylogged and read your bank information, et cetera, et cetera. So with your bank information, small businesses and companies, we did a bunch of investigations, by the way, and I won't mention the bank, specific bank, but we did a lot of investigations on small businesses where hundreds of thousands of dollars were transferred to banks in other countries, wire transfers, and some of them were successful. Let's put it this way, $70 billion, $70 million was the hit with Zeus. The problem with it was that none of the software antivirus programs were able to pick up Zeus and block it. Okay? So that's bank fraud. Let's talk about some of the other stuff. Next. Who's responsible for most of the crime and when we talk in terms of business and cybercrime? Well, I got news for you, because the studies that the Electronic Crimes Task Force has done on this show that internal employees are responsible for the majority of security breaches. And if you'll look at that chart, almost 60%. Is that what I'm seeing up there? I need my glass. I'm looking at it sideways, but if I remember correctly, it's 60% of authorized employees. You got a little over 25% unauthorized employees, and then you got competitors and hackers. But what does that tell you? That people inside businesses are your biggest threat. Are your biggest threat. So, have you ever heard of Trust But Verify? So that's what we want to talk about. Next. So, if you think in terms of your risk and you see that employee theft is your biggest risk, then you should gear your security inward, not outward. And this is the biggest problem for businesses and companies, because I go and I talk to a lot of CEOs of companies. One of the things I say to them, and I'm going a little bit off the chart here right now, but one of the things I say to them, are you monitoring your electronic transmissions of your employees? And a lot of them say, well, no. And I say, why not? Because you're allowed to. Well, we want to build a company that trusts our employees and let them feel that they are valued and loyal. And to that I say, good luck, because I want to trust but verify. So when you take a look at this, intellectual property theft is $150 billion a year, and the average employee embezzlement costs U.S. companies an average of $25,000 per incident, while a computer-assisted employee embezzlement runs $430,000 per incident. You think if I'm a CEO of a company that I'm not going to be paying attention to this and do something about it? Next. Another issue, and a big issue right now with American companies and corporations, is corporate espionage. And why is it a big problem? Because who leads the world in technology and the invention of superior technology? There are two countries, the United States and Israel.
What about China?
Huh?
China.
Well, China, but when you take a look at the technologies that are going on, the United States and private industry lead in developing those technologies. They're vulnerable. A little story, a little off a case study. We did an analysis for a company that had designed a new technology and was getting ready to go to market. They wanted a security program and protocols and procedures put in place. And we designed a security plan and program for them. And I won't tell you what foreign country they got a lot of their workers from, but we specifically told them to control all of your R&D research, make sure that it's cell grouped and nobody can get in except by audit and you know when it's accessed. They didn't do that. They didn't do that. In 3 months, their R&D research was in another country being made at a considerable less amount of money. And they were almost out of business. They had to revamp. So, is corporate espionage a major problem? According to the ASIS, which is the American Society of Industrial Security, which sort of oversees corporate security in America, more than 3 of every 4 thieves or employees are contractors. Another 6% or more are domestic competitors, and only 7% steal secrets on behalf of foreign companies or governments. I think that's erroneous, actually. That's as is. But from my own personal experience in dealing with companies and corporations, I think that cyber theft of corporate data and R&D research is a lot higher from foreign countries. And I won't say what those countries are, but I'm telling you there's an attack on American technology every single day. Next. What are they after? Well, the number 1 item is customer lists, financial data, of course, research and development work. By the way, in 1996, President Clinton signed the Economic Espionage Act of 1996, which made it a crime to engage in corporate espionage. And one of the first cases came when a gentleman who worked for General Motors, I don't know if you know about this case, he worked for General Motors, and they had designed a methodology of building factories to streamline the manufacture of cars, which made it cheaper to manufacture the cars. He left and went to Volkswagen, and guess what? The blueprints from the R&D research done by General Motors was taken with him, and soon Volkswagen built a factory along those guidelines. But guess what? Under the Economic Espionage Act of 1996, General Motors filed suit, and Volkswagen had to pay, what did they pay? $20 billion. I think it was $20 billion for violation of the Economic Espionage Act. So it had some teeth, and today that act is, that Economic Espionage Act is being used nationally to prosecute corporate espionage thieves. Merger and acquisition plans, unannounced product specification and prototypes. Next. Corporate espionage. Well, you can see that we take it really serious because 3% of IT and security dollars are spent protecting, safeguarding electronic or hard copy proprietary information. So we really take it serious. Down below, you'll see that little is done to protect information from either the untrained or disgruntled employee. Why are we focused outwardly when the main attack comes inwardly? But corporate America continues to view the threat as an outside threat because we trust. We don't do anything about the inside disgruntled employee. Next. So, what are my recommendations, or what are our recommendations? And these come from practical experience dealing with companies and corporations over 17 years. I left the Secret Service in 1993. And today, it's interesting, the agents of Secret Service that are doing cyber crime investigations are different than the cyber crime investigations we did, because we used to do hand-to-hand buys of credit cards and credit card-based information face-to-face with criminals. Today, an undercover agent may sit at the computer in the LA Secret Service field office and buy credit cards online, buy identities online, and track it back and get search warrants based on that. That's something that was sort of new, but this is the new age of information investigation. So, what do we recommend as a tactical roadmap for preventing intellectual property theft? Next. Can you all hear me without the mic? Because I need to go step down and look at this when I'm speaking. I'm straining my eyeballs up here trying to read this. I know you're thinking, well, why didn't he memorize it? Okay, my fault. This is really important. The reason it's important is because we deal with a lot of companies and corporations and their trade secrets and information and data. Small companies sometimes don't get it. Big companies like Raytheon understand the threat. And so when they take a look at their information and their trade secret information, they define what that trade secret is. It's a diamond. And if you've got a diamond as a trade secret, you treat a diamond as a diamond, meaning you identify what the trade secrets are. And then you protect them, right? Hold it, because he's got a smart attorney. That smart attorney says, what did you do to protect what you define as trade secrets? Because if you didn't take those requisite steps, you've got no standing to sue. You've got no civil litigation to stand on. You'd be surprised how many cases come up like that. And so why I'm spending a little time on that, it's important if you have trade secrets and intellectual property to define what they are. You've got to define what they are. You must distinguish between ego and perception versus information that is genuinely unique to the company. Next. Customer information is not all trade secret or confidential information. It must distinguish and identify what it is about the customer information that is known only to the client and would be useful in the hands of a competition, such as pricing, contract renewal dates, marketing and solicitation strategies, customer pipeline activities, sales volume, all of these things. If they are unique to your company and it drives the business of your company, they are your crown jewels. And today, America is driven by the information that exists on their systems, right? R&D research, all those things. You have to define what they are. Next. And then you have to protect it. And you protect it with passwords, logons, remote access precaution. When you terminate employees and procedures, this is one of the biggest issues right now. When companies terminate an employee, and oh, by the way, this is interesting, another statistic that I just thought of. Who in the company steals the information most of the time?
The disgruntled employee.
The employees. But which employees? This is interesting study, huh?
Well, I work in IT, okay? And it's so easy to, once you're in that bubble, pretty much you got all the trade secrets.
But here's the issue, and here's what I'm going to tell you. Statistics, not, and I don't want to offend you, statistics that the Electronic Crimes Task Force has put together, 75% of the time, the information is stolen by people in the IT department. Because they sit in a catbird seat. They sit in control of the crown jewels. And I'm getting the hook. So let me wrap up real quick. Next. Next. Defense in depth. Roberta talked about defense in depth. Layered security. Security must integrate people, process, and technology. One of the issues with software products, and we don't endorse any software products that are security solution based. And the reason is because you buy one, it's good for 4 or 5 months until the hackers find a way to get around it. They defeat it. So what we say is security must be addressed as a strategic business process, and it must be layered and defense in depth. Security must support protection requirements and enable demands. It must integrate people, processes, and technology. It must align business security. Security must be addressed as a strategic business process. Next. Well, you can see that. You'll be able to see this online. Next, I want to get to one thing that's really important. Again, you can see this stuff online. These are recommendations, but I want to hit on something that's real important. Again, this is you can read this online because I know I'm running out of time. Okay, all right. This is where I'm going to end it up. And the reason is because in-depth security, layered security means a lot of things. It means physical security, electronic security, and it means your IT security has to act in concert with each other. Seamless, integrated, layered security, okay? But one of the biggest issues is establishing two things. Establishing policies and procedures with the employees that define what they can and can't do. And one of the things that we always say is monitor your electronic transmission by your employees. Cell group your important information and audit control if anybody gets into R&D research that shouldn't be there. You should immediately know that by audit control. 24/7 monitoring of your system. That is a physical protection. You can depend on all these other software protection products and all this other stuff. 24/7 monitoring of your system will identify hacks or intrusions and allow you to throw them out. And then institute employee training programs. You have to reinforce with your personnel that work for you the importance of identifying trade secrets, information, and the use of information once it gets out. Okay? And I think that's it. Well, I could go on and on and on, and if you expected him to show up, that was 20 years ago, okay? Thank you.
Well, thank you, Ron. You know, every time I listen to these presentations, I get a little more scared about where my information is out there in the general marketplace. Our next speaker is actually going to speak on this subject about what you and I can do about some of these things, and maybe even more at a personal level, not just at our computers, but even our PDAs, our smartphones, other types of things that we should be concerned about. Andrea Hoy actually graduated from the university with an undergraduate degree back in 1984 at Cal State Long Beach in the School of Business. She's the Chief Executive Officer of A. Hoy and Associates. She's the President of Sense One Security. She received her initiation into the information security community when her hard work and dedication earned her a role as the Assistant Venue Manager and Supervisor at the 1984 Summer Olympic Games in Los Angeles, California. She's not only served as an advisor to the Pentagon, but in 1991, Andrea received the Security Education Manager's Award, acknowledging her work in applying continuous process improvements to the implementation of information security, resulting in cost savings for both industry and government. She can often be found doing what she's most passionate about, which is speaking engagements throughout the nation to promote awareness of vulnerabilities and trends in the IT security field. She's been consulted by various media outlets for interviews on cutting-edge security and compliance issues. Please welcome me in welcoming Andrea Hoy.
I was watching Roberta up here, and I realized you probably can't see me at all. I need a step stool or something. Anyway, by the way, for those of you that noticed that I graduated in '84 and trying to do some math here, please stop figuring. I know some of you probably weren't even born yet. But what I do expect is in 25 years, I'd like to see you up here doing a presentation and showing what you've learned over the past few years and sharing it with the new engineers that are coming up in this school. Because I truly believe this is a very prestigious university to graduate from. So with that, I have to say my colleagues have done an excellent job in providing you information on the national legislation and on the threats to business. And with that, I'd like to go ahead and go forward with the first slide, since I've learned that that doesn't work. Okay, the first thing is going to be on new war driving. So let's start with a good tie-over. In 2010, at the Black Hat DEF CON briefings, first of all, how many of you know what DEF CON and Black Hat are? Just out of curiosity. Okay, so for those of you that don't know, you really should send an IT person there, because I'm a firm believer in the old sensei art of war. If you don't know your enemy, you're not going to be able to prevent them from getting into your castle. So I truly believe going to Black Hat DEF CON is a learning experience. Anyway, the topic was war driving the smart grid. Go ahead. Practical approaches to attacking utility radio packets. Their presentation basically made people more aware of the multifaceted attack surface that the modernization of our utility companies, distribution and transmission, is rapidly creating with doing delivery and control now over the airways. Click. I need a clicker, huh? Anyway, a few weeks ago, the U.S. government warned that SCADA systems are at risk of being compromised or attacked in response to the public release of exploits for dozens of holes in 4 different supervisory control and data acquisition systems. Now, first of all, how many of you in your utility company's plans had any idea that they were implementing a smart grid back in summer of 2009? Just with a quick raise of hands. How about now with April last year? How about in the last few months, because they put a door thing on your door handle and said, your smart meter's coming. Okay, so don't feel alone. About 16%, or 1 out of 6 consumers, knew about this and that it was coming. The government actually mandated that they start going to something like this. And of course, with all government mandates that have a dateline behind them, what happens? If you're in a rush and you're a developer, you just need to get it out there. Guess what happens to security? It doesn't exist. So now all of a sudden you've got a lot of very critical infrastructure controlled over the airways, which is actually not really controlled. So something to think about. We know that the hackers are aware of how to war drive the new smart grid. We know that early terrorists made testing on this technology to see what they could do with it. And from actually some of the slides that I thought were going to be in Ron's presentation but didn't show up on cyber terrorism, we actually know that they have done some testing in the background to see if they can really disrupt our systems. And so it's something really to take into consideration if you're with one of the utility companies. So our big threat here is national critical infrastructure. The energy industry can also have cause to worry here because energy disruption. But we also saw with Chernobyl and with what's been going on with Japan that there's a huge potential of life-threatening issues that may come up to the communities surrounding these areas. Next slide. Okay, next. So how do we combat this? If you're a consumer, I know this sounds funny, but audit your bills for anomalies. Validate the significant changes in consumption. See if they're really yours. Report any service interruptions. Validate that there's a true interruption that the facility that's holding your utility actually sees too, that you're not just seeing it, and they're testing to see whether they can hide it from the utility company. And what can you do if you're one of these utility companies? Well, I tell you, you really need to know your operating systems. Know what key software is being utilized at your utility company. Make it mandatory that your IT folks go out there and check bug track, that they join the ICS cert to see what the new release bugs are, and know what common bugs can compromise your utility. Learn how to exploit the stack. Learn what the memory is. Look at your command executions. Look at your overflows. And especially do your patches regularly. I know it sounds like something that your IT should be doing day to day, but it really will affect your infrastructure. Excuse me. This is what happens when you're last. You choke. The words are getting stuck. Anyway, next slide. So over the river and through the woods, grandmother's router we go and more. Another tool that was provided during the Black Hat DEF CON last year was an automated router exploit tool. Now, unfortunately, I really can't give you a solution for this except for expose you to the ability for the hackers is out there, and you should know about this. So at grandma's or at home, exploit tools work via DNS rebinding, and they obtain interactive access to your router's admin interface, and it doesn't use any anti-DNS binding pinning techniques. So what does this mean in layman's terms? It means that I can hack into your router, I can get access to it. I don't have to have knowledge of what type of router you have. It used to be if I wanted to get into a router, I needed to do a little homework and a little research and find out what kind of router you had, at least the brand name first. Nowadays, I don't need that anymore. I can just go in and find the back door. And once I own your router, I basically own any traffic you put through that router. So this really is a big consideration to have. Banks, for telecommuters, think about also if you have outsourced HR, that's going to be an issue too. Ron touched upon the privacy breaches and GLB. Actually, he didn't touch GLBA. GLBA, for those of you that don't know, that's the Grimleach-Bliley Act. That's what protects your financial information as a U.S. citizen. The HIPAA Act, that one applies to healthcare-related information. SB 1386 he covered very well. AB 1298, this one was released in October 2007. Okay, what this one did was it added to the California law that your medical information and your healthcare information now were part of that definition of what was considered personal information or non-public information. So this affects probably the majority of us in the room. And then lastly, obviously, data breaches, which is a large one. The key takeaway I want you to remember here is that it's going to get easier and easier for the hackers, and the Pandora's box will always be there and ready for somebody to try. Next slide. Okay, so a few of you were wondering about phishing, so I thought I'd give you a really nice, pretty example here. I mean, the Citibank logo is correct. They just took that right off of Citibank's website. And basically, they're sitting here saying Citibank, the alleged sender of the email, wants to help you because there's been a large number of identity theft attempts, which you guys have all heard about in the news. So they're targeting the Citibank customers so that to safeguard your information, we want you to send us your ATM, your debit card PIN, and just click on this link. So when you click on the link, basically you're taken to their website and you're providing them with the information. Next one. And here are some of the older, more obvious ones at the bottom. You know, the ones like he was discussing, like the Nigerian fraud. This is some of the newer ones. They basically, same song, different tune. Some are getting smarter. They look like the old, but what they're doing now is, for instance, some of you may recently have gotten emails from a friend, somebody that's actually in your address book, so it's a legitimate email address. And it's saying, I'm stuck in Europe, I got my wallet stolen. Anybody hit for money recently? Yeah, that's the latest one of these. So be careful. Okay, next slide. So just a real quick definition if you need it. Phishing is an attempt to fraudulently steal information from someone over the internet. And originally it was through email. Keep going. Since he did cover a lot of this, I'm going to keep moving. The one thing I found interesting was when I worked at Boeing, and the president was extremely, extremely upset because he had a consumer call up and contact the office and say, I'm very upset. You sent me this email. It's inappropriate. You shouldn't have been sending it. So the next thing that happens is we in information security get a call. I want you to make sure this never happens again. I don't want ever see anything content like this coming from a Boeing account. Well, all of you now as businesses know that's impossible. You cannot control what goes over the internet. You can't control who impersonates you. So just be aware. Next slide. So what can you do to protect yourself and your company? Learn how to recognize a phishing attempt. Like if you don't have an account with Chase Bank, you don't have an account with PayPal or Hotmail, don't respond. Don't even bother opening it. The one thing I really like out there is Mail Frontier has a phishing IQ test, and you will get this off what's posted on the internet. I really think all of you should try this out. It's a very quick, easy test. It's only 10 questions, and you can even use it at your companies to test your employees on their phishing IQ. And it's very simple. You click on it, it's going to have 10 links. You look at those links. Each link will bring up an email. Now, granted, it's going to be obviously one that's been tampered with just because they had to use something different so that it didn't go to a phishing company. But it will help provide some insight as to what the phishing attacks look like. So try it out. And some are fraudulent, some aren't. So they try to check you and catch you up on this. The other thing to look for is commas versus periods. Who knows why this is something to look for? How many of you have done a lot of business in Europe or Asia and seen the way they write their numbers? They tend to use commas where we use periods in a lot of their correspondence. So it's something to look for because they forget. They're used to what they're used to. The other thing you could do is scroll, what I call scrolling over the link. Take your mouse, and you know how I had that link on that other page? Just scroll over it and see what URL shows up. See what comes up on the bottom left-hand corner? Look there. It'll show you what the true URL that's going to. Because just because it says I'm going to go to citibank.com doesn't necessarily mean that's where it's really going. So check that out. And if it looks like it's the wrong one, don't click on it. It's not going to hurt you any. They'll just contact you again if it's real. Is the link page secure? Okay, in most cases, if they're going to be asking you for your personal information, they better be doing it in a secure session. So if you look on the right there, I don't know if the pointer works, but if you look on the right there, I actually cut out a secure URL from eBay just to show. You will see the HTTPS there at the top. It shouldn't just say HTTP. At home, when you provide your child with their first email account or their grandparent, my sister just did this for my niece because she was forced to because the high school required it for her to go to high school. But when you do that, make sure that their first email account, remember it's going to be, they're using your shared computer. So teach them not to contaminate it. Teach them these rules of engagement. Teach them about phishing. Use security awareness. Next slide, please. Farming. Ron covered this a little bit too. It was basically started in popularity about 2005. Basically, it's a way of harvesting many thousands of users. Think of it like this. If I go fishing, I take a single rod and reel, and I go out there and I'll probably catch one fish at a time, if I'm lucky. I'm not a good fisher person, so I probably won't catch anything anyway. But if I go farming, it's like me being on a tuna boat and having a large net, and now I can capture multiple fish with just one website. I just have to get you to go there. That's all I need. So the most alarming farming threat, by the way, for those of you that are a little more technical, is DNS poisoning. Because you can cause a large group of users to be herded to bogus sites, bogus websites. DNS stands for Domain Name System, and basically it translates the web and email addresses that you think you should be going to, the numerical strings, acting kind of like a telephone directory for the internet. And if the DNS directory is poisoned, you can alter it and falsify that information to make people think they're going to the right site, but they're not. Next slide, please. Okay, so how do you protect your backyard? Actually, one quick story on that. On the farming, I actually had a case where I was part of an incident response team, and we got a call, and the individual said, I was doing what I normally do. I belong to a large commercial real estate firm. I clicked on the icon that sits on my desktop. It looked just like it does every day. I clicked on it. But the one thing that happened that was a little different was once I got into the website, it said my last logon was at 2 o'clock today. Now, I don't go in and do this until 3 o'clock every day when the bank's closed. That's when I do the wire transfer. Why did it say I was in at 2 o'clock? And so he stopped doing what he would normally do. He didn't do the wire transfer. He actually had listened to his security ed people, was told that he should look at that last log and paid attention to it, and he stopped what he was doing. He didn't do the wire transfer. Instead, he called his InfoSec people, and they initiated the information response team, the information security response team. We ended up finding out that, sure enough, it was some Russian hackers. They had replaced the icon on his desktop and linked it to their bogus website. They were doing a man-in-the-middle attack with it. So once they collected the information, they then turned around and did the wire transfer and exchange, but the opposite direction, so that they were getting the money into their account. So very important to keep that in mind. So what can we do? Limit your privileged accounts at the office. Don't give away admin access. Keep it limited. And like as Ron mentioned, make sure you terminate when the employee terminates. The other thing is, even at home, make sure you limit administrator at home. I tell people my dog's the administrator of my laptop, and I'm not joking. His name is on my laptop. He's the administrator. He doesn't surf the internet, so I'm safe that way. He doesn't open up email. He doesn't even respond to it. So I know I'm not going to get something from an untrusted source. What do I do when I get on my computer? I use a standard user account. I do not give myself admin privileges. So if I need to load software, I have to go talk to the dog. Anyway, teach how to check for fraudulent sites. All the stuff we just covered in the last few slides, make sure you share that with your kids. Make sure you share that with your employees. And don't open suspicious email from people you don't know. The last one I added on here because how many of you recently saw on the news about the Epsilon breach or have started getting emails from Ralph's or Chase or Best Buy that their information may have been hit? Yeah, a few of you. Okay, what I didn't like about the TV newscasts was that they were warning people only about opening suspicious email from people you don't know. In a case like this, you really need to be suspect even of people that you do know, because they'll come in, they'll look at your address book, and they'll just select somebody randomly out of your address book, and they'll use them as a vehicle to get you to open that fraudulent email. So just be mindful. The one other thing I wanted to mention is, with the notifications, because obviously of the privacy and breach notifications, these people had to notify us as California citizens, right? Well, Ralph's was the first one to notify me. Then 3 days later, I got notification from my bank. And then lastly, I got one from Best Buy. As a consumer, what's wrong with this picture? My grocery store thinks it's more important to notify me than my bank or Best Buy? Anyway, where there's smoke, there's generally fire. Next. Use a browser tool which checks and validates websites. This, I think, is really important. Some of the new tools that are out there actually don't use the old technology. All of us always think about, well, let's block this, let's stop that, let's not go here, let's not let our users go here. Let's tell our employees they can't go to these sites because they're illicit. But actually, there are tools out there now that some of the companies need to use that do whitelisting instead. So by whitelisting, the company actually goes out there, checks the website, sees if it's fraudulent or not, or whether it's been hacked recently. Do their applications use acceptable security so they can't be hacked or turned into a fraudulent farming site? So it's a different way of thinking of things, but it's starting to get a lot of publicity out there, and I think it may be the wave of the future on where we see people going as far as security. IP addresses are regions where you don't have business. If you don't ever intend to have business in Romania or Russia or any of the Eastern Bloc companies, one thing you might consider is blocking those IP addresses for those regions. If there isn't any legitimate traffic you should be having from those sites and that area, block it. If somebody needs it, they'll ask. The person that's an IT administrator here, I'm sure he's been asked about why can't I go to certain places before, so they'll ask. Remind users, if they go on travel, here we're starting to get in the holidays too, if they use an internet cafe, if they go into some place in Costa Rica where they are and they use the internet cafe, ask them to make sure that they clear the cache and clear the history and clear the browser before they log off. Just take that little extra time to do that. It's just an ounce of prevention, it's not much, but it just makes you a lower target than somebody else. Teach users how to report and change passwords. Ron touched upon this a little bit. One thing, though, the problem is a lot of people still don't make good passwords. After all these years, you think we would have learned better how to make a good password. We can make California vanity plates. Why can't we make passwords? So, next. Smishing. Smishing is basically the 2011 breed of phishing. Basically, it's doing the phishing, but doing it over SMS, or as most people call it, text messaging. Okay? They entice you with something. They tell you, oh, get this free game, or this free ringtone, or go to the next slide, and yeah, perfect. Oh, actually, go back one. I'm sorry. They'll send you something from your bank saying, urgent, this is lots of oops, LOL bank. Your account's overdrawn. Please contact us immediately. So now they even got you calling them. They don't sit around anymore. They just have their remote phone with them with the 800 number on it. Here, call me. Tell me what's going on. And then as soon as you call them, they'll say, oh, hello, Mr. Money. How are you? Yes, thank you for calling us. Before we start, let's verify who you are. Can you provide us with your mother's maiden name? And what's your account number? And then let's see, I have your account number now. Oh, now I need you to put in your PIN number because, because we're secure, we want to take your security seriously. We don't want you to tell me your PIN number. So just put it in your phone and hit pound. Okay, thank you. They've got everything they need now. Okay, next. So why does it work? Well, social engineering always works. Even though to me, doing things over the internet seems to be less social because you're not seeing the person's face-to-face, but smishing works. How to fix it? Well, unfortunately, it's going back to education again. Your users are your first line of defense. If they don't know what it is and to be aware of it, they're not going to look. I've put a website up there, Snopes.com. I don't know how many of you ever use this, but if you ever get an email or something you're not sure of the content, this is a great site to go to because they validate what they get on there. They check out rumors. I mean, anything from give money because my daughter's dying of cancer to watch out because somebody's going to beat you over the head if you go to your car and find a tag on it or something. They'll find whatever it is it might be, but it's a great website. It also has about the ATM frauds. That's one thing I'm not covering in this is ATM skimming because I have a whole hour briefing on that with pictures and everything. So next, the other thing is call your local bank, by the way. If you do get one of those messages, call the local bank. Use a phone number you know. Call somebody local. iPhones. Okay. Admit it, we all love gadgets. The first iPhone, it's been a long time running, but how many of you had your iPhone die and you had to change the battery? A little bit difficult. The iPhone's probably the only phone out there that you cannot change the battery yourself. You got to go in and get it changed. So now we've got this latest development on April 20th where we've got Pete Warden and Alistair Allen doing a presentation at Wear 2.0. And they're showing how they can use logs that they found on the iPhone to find your location. And this isn't something that was disclosed by Apple. And so that's really where the big issue is here, I think, is why it wasn't disclosed, why it was put in there. Did they put it in there, or did just an engineer, developer that was interested in doing something different put it in there? Were they thinking of maybe applications in the future might need this ability? There's actually been 2 letters written to Apple in regards to this, and they're supposed to have a response no later than May 12th. But some of the things is, why are they collecting it? Is it permissible under the privacy policy that people have when they get an iPhone? And to whom is it being disclosed? And then is it a feature that customers can disable? What I found very interesting was 2 days ago I went on to the Apple Investors website, and there was a post there in their blogs. All companies pretty much have blogs these days on their investor website. But someone had put there a posting on how to turn off the location-free abilities of an iPhone. And the problem is it almost, I thought, was misleading because you're telling people, okay, here, you do this, then the applications can't find your location. You're free. Nobody can see where you are. And that's not really true because the findings that these folks had was that everything was being logged in the background, not that an application was attaching to it, that it was being logged in the DB files in a database. So the only thing really I was able to find that you can do, and really all it's doing is protecting that information if your phone gets stolen, is to use the encryption in the iTunes and encrypt that information for now. That's it, until Apple really does come up with addressing the situation. So I apologize for not being able to get you something any more recent than that. Next slide. Cyberbullying. I saw this on the montage that was going through in the beginning. Anyway, I threw this item in here only because it's so often overlooked, and yet most of us have younger siblings, nieces, nephews, kids, grandchildren. Cyberbullying is very real in this day and age, and unfortunately it tends to end poorly. So the bottom line is just be careful what your kids write, be careful what they send. The old adage, the old sticks and stones may break my bones, but words will never hurt me. That generation's over. Words and videos can go viral very quickly, and it's very difficult for young kids to deal with this kind of pressure. It's difficult to prosecute, too. Education institutions, their hands are really tied because the majority of these kind of incidences are done from home computers or personal private phones. 2 weeks ago, just here, Long Beach PD had a case with a Millikan High School student, 17 years old. The one other thing I wanted to put up here is just so you knew a little bit about the law, was that if any of the parties are over 18, It's considered cyber harassment or cyber stalking, not cyber bullying. So keep that in mind. It's a totally different part of the law. One of the few things, probably the only thing I can really come up with from a protection perspective on an educator's response, is create an acceptable use policy. And the reason you're doing this, it's giving you the right to discipline for off-campus activities, but that conflict with or cause issues on the campus. The reason for doing this is you're now taking the situation from being a constitutional law issue into a contractual law issue. So think about that. I mean, I know it's not much, but it's a little bit of something. The other thing is there's a lot of tools for education on the National Crime Prevention Council website, so take advantage of that. Next slide. Social media. With this group, I'm not even just going to describe what it is, because if you don't know, I'm probably in the wrong lecture. At home, be careful who you friend. Know who you're chatting with and trading with, and watch your post. I mean, the student at UCLA has actually stopped going to the university because of all the flame back that occurred from her posting in regards to the Asian students on cell phones in the library. It wasn't because of the UCLA. UCLA found that she was not guilty of violating any school policies, so it was really purely a personal matter that it became for her. A picture says 1,000 words, and not always what you intended. A picture that might be taken in fun one day, years later when it's still floating around the internet, may not be so good when you try getting a job. So just keep that in mind. And for those of you that have offices, create a social media policy. Out of curiosity, how many of you have a social media policy that are business? Oh, good. SDG&E. Really look at that. There's a lot of good that can come from that because it's very difficult to control. You as a company might be liable if one of your employees, it gets tracked back to an IP address that happens to be one of your work addresses. On the bottom here, oh, that's okay, we can go with this. Okay, Fish Tank. What I like about this site that's different than others, it actually has development tools that your developers can use when creating your website or web applications that helps keep you from having fraudulent issues as far as fishing and farming come out of your websites. Very good tool. It also has some great statistics, too, on fishing and farming. Snopes, we mentioned before, that just gives you the website for it. The ICS CERT, that's as far as for the national infrastructure, critical infrastructure. On the bottom there, I've got just for general cyber activity, DHS. Use those phone numbers, use the website. Very important. Next, please. Okay, cell phones. From a mobile security perspective, Norton has actually put out a beta, which is free. And unfortunately, it's just for an Android phone right now. So for those with Androids, here's a potential resource. One of the things that I find that I like about this tool, though, is the poison pill. How many of you know what a poison pill is? Okay, only a few of you. Basically, what it is it's a way of destroying all your information remotely. So if your phone gets stolen, you can make your phone swallow the poison pill and kill all your data on that phone. So at least all you've lost is the phone, and not your data, not your friends' cell phone numbers, things of that nature. Lookout is a free one that's also on the Android market. It stops malware and spyware. It also has the ability to do backups. I have not tested the backups. I have not tested their website. I've not tried anything to see how secure they are, so please don't think they're secure just because I'm mentioning it. Do some due diligence. At the office, McAfee has a program called Enterprise Mobility Management. This works on all platforms that I can think of at the moment. iPhones, iTouches, iPads, even the new HP WebOS phones. It's very good. It'll work with your VPNs. The other thing that's nice about it is, let's say you terminate an employee. One of the key things Ron was bringing up that's important, right? It's taking everything back from your employees. Well, what do you do if they've been reading email and downloading PDFs and critical merger acquisition data on their smartphone to read it? This is the one way you can kill that. This actually gives you the capability of differentiating between public files and private files and killing the public ones. Next slide, please. Malware. How many of you had problems with your computers where your computer just doesn't seem to want to go to the internet anymore? And if it does, it goes there really, really slowly. Most likely, there's probably some other things going on in the background. Most of the people that I find it goes really, really slowly and then really, really finally dies, it's because they've got malware on that computer, and somebody's using their computer as a botnet or someplace that they can go and create more malware, spread their malware more joyfully around the internet. Malware is free. It's a good program. Try it out. It's great for home use. Unfortunately, sometimes you have to rebuild your computer first before you can put it on. But SANS, another great tool, especially from a company perspective. If you're trying to add some new policies on and you're not quite sure where you want to go, there's a plethora of information here. There's a library there that's got white papers. It has briefings from former SANS instructors that they're on there. Great tool. It also even has free tools too as well, and training. The White House blog, Roberta already covered this, so I'm not going to go over that, but if you want the link, there's the link. Howard is a good practitioner. I'm glad to see he's taking care of this for us from a national perspective. He was actually president of ISSA, which is the Information System Security Association. For those of you that are interested, there is some information in the back there, but it's another good resource for very inexpensive learning on cybersecurity and what you can do. Next slide. Books and publications. Verizon, in collaboration with the Secret Service, created in 2009 the first data breach investigations report, and then they did another one just for last year's data, 2010. Excellent resource. If you want to see the statistics on what's been hacked into, what's been breached, how it's been breached, where the breaches are coming from, this is a very good resource for getting that information. And it's free and it's over the internet. Books, Hacking Exposed has been around for a long time, but I have to say this is probably one of the best Bibles out there for learning every single portion of a hack, how it's programmed, how it's used, what it can and really cannot do. And then just for the entertaining reading, Spies Among Us is an excellent book on social engineering. Next slide. Because I had to go so fast, and I know I couldn't cover everything in cybersecurity, there's information, how to get a hold of me. Next.
I would now like to ask the speakers to come up to the stage, and we'll take a few minutes for questions. I do want to point out to everyone in the audience that all of the slides that you've seen today will be made available on the Distinguished Lecture Series website. The PDF files will actually be posted, so if you want to get the details of the links and other things in the slides, they are there. I also wanted to point out that in your handout here, you'll have an opportunity at least to donate to the College of Engineering. If you're an alumni or someone who might want to take a chance to donate back to the college, they can always use any funds to help educate the students, especially in our times of reduced funding out there on a state level. With that, I'd be happy to take questions. We do have a microphone in the middle. Anyone who has a question, please identify yourself first and then ask the question.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Anyways, I want to just share something with everybody here, and I think this is a scam that's out there. I went to a place to get my computer just kind of refreshed, and I met this character, at the front desk there, and he seemed really knowledgeable, and he goes, "Oh, you got an Apple Mac? Oh, wonderful, wonderful. Let me take a look at it." And he goes, "What seems to be the problem?" And I said, "Oh, I'm just, just give me a little diagnostic on it." And so he put this contraption into one of my ports. And he did that. He's getting all this information off of my computer. And he's like talking to me like, "Hey, it's okay, I'm just doing my diagnostic." I said, "Stop." I said, "Stop." I go, "I don't know what you're putting on that piece of hardware that you stuck into my computer." And he looked at me like, "What? No, I got to keep doing this." And I went to try to pull it out, and he pushed the computer back. And then I go, what's going on here? So be careful with that. That's an issue.
I take it you all agree with what he...
Never trust a USB.
Yeah, never trust a flash drive.
Especially a CD left on your windshield.
Howdy, my name is Brent, and my question is there any pending legislation out there or anything new that enables a citizen to say, no, I am not going to give you that personal information, because it's typical when you're out there doing business, conducting personal interactions, it's very common that sites and places and institutions will require you to give them information before they'll do what you're asking of them. Government entities, commercial-wise, is there any legislation that somebody can quote, say, wait a minute, I don't have to provide you with that in order to get what I'm asking you for legislation-wise?
Yeah, I do know that Senator Dianne Feinstein has submitted legislation to basically deny people from, giving their Social Security numbers out. Like a lot of bills, it's been trapped in the Senate and House for a long time. I don't know where it's at now. I know that it was there about a year ago. Do you know where it's at now, Henry? The problem that I see in America today is almost all business back for 20, 30 years now has been driven by your Social Security number and date of birth. It's very difficult to extract that out of the business acumen now to, to identify people in the system. So maybe you know a little bit more about.
I also don't know of any legislation along those lines. I do know that there are quite a few companies, and I prefer to do business with them, that allow you to create your own user ID in lieu of using your Social Security number. And when I know that they exist, I prefer to do business with them than the ones that ask for Social Security number. I don't know of anything that makes companies do that.
Thank you.
Thank you for the question. I mean, I actually relate to that. Every time I go to the doctor's office and they ask for my name, my Social Security number, my driver's license number, and my date of birth, and put it all on a single piece of paper, I'm a bit nervous. Usually I'll go and ask, why do they need this information? And a lot of times they don't require it, even though it's on the form that they've always asked you to fill out.
Just to expound on that, I know that legislation presented by Dianne Feinstein was getting traction, and then it got burned out. And the reason is because banks and financial institutions and other businesses that sort of depend on the tracking of Social Security numbers and personal identification in the system really lobbied heavily against it. And so I don't know that you'll ever see legislation that outlaws or defines what you can put, but it's interesting. I wasn't aware that certain businesses now allow you to define what information you want to identify yourself, and that might be an answer.
Okay, any other questions?
Good evening, everybody. On the recent attack on the PSN, I think there was an attacker that attacked it too like a while ago, and also the recent one too. What would you guys suggest if you guys had the opportunity to work for them? What do you guys suggest to change their policies or the actual system so they can protect all the users in the Sony?
I'm not sure I understand.
Is that the attack on the PlayStation Network?
Yeah.
That's the attack he's referring to.
Oh, he's talking about the attack on the PlayStation.
Well, it goes back to that development thing I was talking about earlier. Unfortunately, when people under deadlines to get out the newest PlayStation 3, right, to beat Nintendo and beat the Wii and everything else, fortunately, security takes a back seat to that. And that's one thing. I'm a strong proponent of the, secure lifecycle development when it comes to programming, because I really feel security needs to be integrated at the front end, because it's good for the consumer. I think in the long term, it's good for the goodwill of a company. I mean, because they've gotten a hit like this, obviously this is giving a pretty heavy black eye for right now. So, and the other thing I think I would look at too is how you bind yourself to other applications and consumers. Like, for instance, PlayStation, right? You can access your Netflix account, you can access your Hulu account, you can go on to quite a few other things now through the PlayStation. That wasn't originally the intent, but that's where it's gone. And if you're going to do that, I think you should give yourself some internally built firewalls in the system itself. I think that would help.
Well, the one thing that we're big proponents of is a 24/7 monitoring, physical monitoring of the system because, you know, as I said before, a lot of the security tools software tools are implemented, and 6 months later, 5 months later, the hackers and the people that are really smart people defeat them. And so the only real answer that I can give you is a 24/7 monitoring and intrusion monitoring and watching the system so that you can take immediate steps to thwart the attack. And monitoring your employees. You got to monitor your employees. I mean, that's a big advocate for me, is knowing what electronic transmissions are going out, or audit the internal employees, their transmissions.
The other thing that might be interesting to do would be create a honeypot.
Mm-hmm.
That really, I think, would be interesting to see what kind of traffic you get on that honeypot. If I were one of those companies, I would love to do that.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Thank you.
Yeah, another question to the distinguished panel. Thank you for your time and coming here to this beautiful city of ours. You were all unbelievably knowledgeable. What is a really good website that the general public can go to find out about all of these scams that are out there where we can just protect ourselves as consumers?
The Snopes.com that I had on one of the last 3 slides, if you go to the website, use that. That's an excellent website. Do stay on top of it. And then also the fish tank.
And I was going to say the U.S. CERT one also talks about vulnerabilities in common commercial software products as well as other ones, so you can understand what's vulnerable on the systems that you own.
Thank you, everyone. The speakers will be here afterwards. If you have any further questions, at this point in time, I'd like to welcome back up Dean Golshani to give some closing remarks.
It was nice meeting you. Give me applause.
Thank you. That was wonderful. And regarding the last question, I am pleased to say that the university IT, under leadership of Janet Foster, is putting together a comprehensive website as a resource to the university community and also as something that helps the entire community, particularly the school system, the children, the teachers, those who, teachers and administrators basically, because we know that they are most vulnerable. How many of you have Facebook accounts? Great. How many of you, your children have Facebook accounts? Well, here is a sobering fact. If you have your name, your place of birth, and date of birth as information that everyone can see, you're amongst the lucky 8% population whose Social Security can be inferred with very, very minimal effort. And also 1/3 of the entire population, but just these 3 information, 2 pieces of information, place of birth and date of birth, 1/3 are giving away their Social Security numbers by a relatively modest amount of work, but 8% are immediate. So just something for all of us to remember. Anyway, thank you for this wonderful panel. Appreciate you taking the time to join us today. There's a little gift to remember this event with. Ronald, thank you very much.
I just want to expound on what he just said, because with your name and date of birth, you can do a Social Security trace verification in the information system and come up with your social security number. And with that, then it identifies all your property, all your assets, everything. So with a social security trace verification based on name and date of birth, you're owned.
Well, let's properly thank the panel. Thank you. And thank you all for participating.